Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is One of One, but you can call me Seven. Fellas, we just met Aoko's older sister. She is, she's interesting. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna say. She's also dangerous. She's also, a danger to the public, it would seem. And also to Alice and Aoko and SIZUKI. So now we're a bit, we're in battle mode. Feels like we're DEFCON 1. Things are dangerous, and the girls have to figure out how they're going to do this because Toko has literally come in and kind of spit in their faces, just stepped into their home. I mean, SIZUKI didn't know any better, but let's see what they're going to do. First things first, it's time to educate Sojiro about magecraft and magic, because he needs to know all this stuff if they're gonna deal with Toko, and they're just gonna wipe his mind anyway. Yeah, okay, big guy. Okay, so there are different schools of magecraft, such as runes or Kabbalah, different textbooks or manuals that the whole world uses, okay? Anyone that has a proper textbook and a suitable bloodline can become a mage. Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. Magecraft, anybody can do magecraft. You just gotta have a suitable bloodline, one that works, I guess, and a proper textbook. Different system, whatever, sure. Using magic is something else entirely. True magic isn't just a manuscript derived from the swirl of the root like magecraft is, but something that comes directly from the root itself. It's not manuscript derived from the swirl of the root like magecraft is, but something that comes directly from the root. As for the swirl of the root, well, the simplest way I can describe it so you'll understand is to compare it to the sun. The sun is really far away, and has been there from the beginning as far as we're concerned. Without it, you and I wouldn't be able to live. Why'd you look at her like that? Magecraft merely lets us take advantage of the sun's benefits, so to speak. Magecraft is all about imitating or paying for natural phenomena. We can use it to study, practice, and recreate mysteries. We can never truly create them. Actually, no matter how much you learn, you eventually hit a wall. It's like a limiter that human knowledge can never overcome. Okay, so the swirl of the root it's like you get manuals for like operating it. It's like sort of yeah, imitating or paying for natural phenomena. So it's just a bunch of different ways of doing that. But you can only go so far, whereas true magic, beyond that wall is where magic, the sun itself, exists. To attain it means to go where no one can go, and awaken miracles no one could possibly reproduce. Is this where the realm of creating things that don't exist already in the world comes into play? Because that's one of the limitations I remember from magecraft. A technique to make things happen that humanity could never hope to accomplish with any amount of time or resources. That's true magic. It's about overcoming that dimensional wall, like running until you reach the end where you'll find a world with completely different rules from ours. That's the only way you can, well, learn it. I told you before that magecraft has no limits, right? Well, I meant that it has no limits within the scope of human knowledge. Meanwhile, magic has lots of limits. Actually, it can only do one thing, and one thing alone. Makes sense, right? I mean, we're talking about unique rule-breaking concepts and mechanisms that exist outside the boundaries of the very universe. So, alright. God, it took me out just hard cutting to his face like this. So, magic is more amazing than magecraft. I think I get the general idea, but it's really limited? Kinda. It's more like an exception, a special privilege, or an abuse of power. It's not versatile, but in making the impossible possible, it's all-powerful as far as magecraft is concerned. I see, so at the point, I understand. It's like a small fish in a big pond, big fish in a small pond, kind of ish. Magic is like a reward a mage gets when reaching the swirl of the root, and that even goes for mages who don't possess the metal to wield it. Just making a path to the root gives them free reign to use it, in magecraft terms. In short, it's like becoming the richest person in the world. Sojiro made an appreciative sound, impressed. A low whistle. On the other hand, Alice looked as though she wished to make many revisions to Aoko's account. Look at her. The richest person in the world, in which case does it mean that no matter how rich you are, only the richest person gets to have magic? I guess so, sure. Sometimes you sure get to the right conclusion from the weirdest of places. It's like you said. There are many routes and theories to reach the root, but unless you're first to the post, magic will elude you. No matter how good you are, if you're not the first, you're everyone else. There are only 4 magicians. And there are only 4 because once that path to the root has been taken by one magician, it's closed up. Oh. So it's all about finding your own path to that root, in essence. It wasn't always like that. Ironically, mankind is responsible for closing off the path to the root. We built walls that stand between us and the truth. The mages of old could never have imagined that the more we explored the unknown, the more paths we would seal off. But the result was exactly that, and by the time they realized it, it was too late. After all that studying, true magic had all but disappeared from the world. Oh. So it's kind of like how the city has dwarfed the countryside then. In a microscopic sense, that example works. So, up until recently, modern mages have been vying for that final seat in a game of magical musical chairs, but some country bumpkin snagged it a while ago, so their little race is over. After that, all further research into the root was limited to mundane and meaningless magecraft. Though only a small fraction of mages were chasing magic anyway, while the rest had already thrown in the towel. Magic gained from reaching this world of the root isn't necessarily a mage's only goal. But that's a whole other convoluted mess in itself, the chicken or the egg dilemma, if you will. Okay, got it. Okay, no, this is really helpful. For me, not for Sojiro. He understands absolutely nothing. Do you mind if we get to the point? Oh, right. How can there be multiple wielders of true magic if only the first one there can learn it? Well, there were 5 at one time. There were 5 final tasks left to humanity, so the first... Yeah, we don't get to know that? Right, to the point. Now that I've explained the relationship between magecraft and magic, I can finally talk about my family. Remember when I mentioned that the Aozaki family has been mages for generations? Our history isn't ancient, but we've been blessed with good luck and talent because somehow or another, an Aozaki family finally attained true magic. Hold on, just a second. Chodo a minute. Aozaki, so you mean... I'm an apprentice mage, nothing more. I can't wield magic, nor do I want to. I'm just the successor to the Aozaki family. Ako asserted obtusely, her voice devoid of emotion. She became a mage not to wield magic, but simply because the succession of her family's magecraft was forced on her. Anyway, in order to reach the swirl of the root, generations upon generations of mages have to dedicate their lives to research. Since every special snowflake is trying a unique approach and doesn't want to share, it obviously takes forever. At any rate, you can't create magic unless you have the innate ability to, or through some sort of divine intervention. Just making it to the root isn't enough. If you lack a worthy heir to pass it on to, the miracle stops there. So much for your lineage. That's why mages cultivate their bloodlines, to pass magical energy from one generation to the next, and to create an heir more powerful than oneself. Alko wrapped up the explanation by remarking that it was all like producing a thoroughbred. Oops. Not that Sojiro knew what a thoroughbred was to begin with, leaving him as perplexed at the end of the story as he was at the beginning. Great. So mages pass along their uniquely created mystics to later generations, protecting their legacy in the process. And at the very end, they say that there should be an answer sufficient enough to satisfy all our questions. But you see, magicians too, all understand one very important thing. Their own generation, and every single one thereafter, will all die before they ever reach their ultimate goal. My grandfather always used to say that it was the destiny of those who obsess over mystics to end up learning only magecraft. Funny how my sister didn't turn out like that. She left "I Can See Why" hanging in the air. Alice had no response. The Aozaki family, passing down true magic. Aoko, the reluctant successor. And Toko Aozaki, her elder sister. Actually, my sister was the Aozaki heir. They told me about the family legacy, but I never had to learn any of it. For mage lineages, unless they're super rich, they usually only raise one heir. I guess that wasn't the case for an average income household like ours. Successors are supposed to be chosen based on their affinity for magecraft, and in that sense, my sister was definitely a prodigy. But her talent just wasn't fit for an heir for whatever reason. Instead, I turned out to be more suited to succeed it. And while I don't really agree with him, my grandfather seemed dead set on switching it over to me during the winter when I was 15. To my sister, I suddenly stole her entire birthright while not only being 4 years younger, but also lacking any magical knowledge. I see. So, that's why. Toko had said that she was obligated to take what was Aoko's. He recalled how resentful her voice had been when she said it. I'm not her, so I don't know how she feels about the whole thing. It's been 3.5 years since she fought with grandfather, smashed her glasses, and left our home. No one has heard from her since then, and I became her replacement. I guess this is why we're squabbling. Sojiro thought the story was tragic. But Aoko's voice had a tone of relief in it. Sojiro did not know exactly who he should feel bad for anymore. She broke her glasses? Correct. Her eyesight has always been perfect. The bitch was even born with mystic eyes. But in trying to live up to our grandfather's expectations, she probably overdid it, and her eyes suffered as a result. Aoko wrestled with the memory, not sure if she had everything down exactly right. Sojiro knew how well Aoko could hide her emotions, and this was not one of those moments. You know, now that I think of it, was Toko trying to give him a message? Why did she throw her glasses at my grandfather when she could have smoked him with a single fin shot? She was in her prime back then, so she could have wiped a senile old man out in an instant if she had wanted to. Sojiro shook his head, disappointed at Aoko's misjudgment of the situation. This isn't about any grudge. Those glasses, they were important to her. It was a symbol of all her efforts that everyone could see. To break them like that, it must have been painful. Painful enough for her to feel like she had to break them. As Sojiro spoke, neither Aoko nor Alice noticed the grief he was fighting to hold in. Or more accurately, they could not understand his point of view. After all, in a world where mages are raised to fight other mages, empathy was in short supply. I wonder why she chose to come back now. Like Aoko said, Toko could have taken Misaki City at any time she wanted to. That's right. If she wanted this land so badly, she could have come back 3 years ago, killed me, and reclaimed her rights. Maybe she had a change of heart after seeing the world, I don't know. You really don't get it, do you, Elzaki? Sojiro shook with a faint anger. His voice changed from the boy they thought they knew. Oh, and you do? Yes, like anyone would. Toko was waiting for you to become a fully fledged mage so that you would lose the same thing that was stolen from her. That's how deep her hurt and hatred goes. Sojiro gazed at them, wondering why they could not see what he could. Only, he was the one that did not understand. The two girls, and above all, Toko Alzaki, denied themselves the type of relationships that other normal people are allowed to experience. Toko's actions were not fueled by hatred. While there certainly was hatred behind them, the real reason was and always has been Toko's pursuit of true magic. She was an ambitious and talented mage. Her hatred was only her veneer. Thinking of her in any other way would be an insult to the elder sister who devoted her life to the study of magecraft. All of this, Aoko wanted to tell Sojiro, but instead stopped herself. Even if she had, Sojiro was not a mage and could never understand. And besides, arguing with him any further would not have brought her any joy. She couldn't have put it into words even if she had tried. And so, you sure are taking her side a lot, Sojiro. Could it be love at first sight? Well, actually, I'm sorry to say, Aoko, that you are so very wrong because the reason that he was kind of infatuated by her, or at least charmed by her, is because of you. So, I'm sure you'd be blushing to know that. Sure of it. In her own cowardly way, Aoko dodged the subject. She smirked childishly. I get how she feels, a little. I pity her. Damn. Sojiro did not take the bait. Aoko was frustrated. And why, might I ask? An icy glare replaced her smile. He did not falter, only plainly stating, because she has to fight her only sister. That's sad, isn't it? This was the source of his frustration. It's sad, all right. Aoko's eyes narrowed unconsciously as if hiding from a painful truth. This guy is a poison, she thought. Well, yeah, because it seems like you guys have this mentality that has been passed down through generation after generation after generation of mages all over the world. It seems like this is the system that people abide by because it's the way everything works. It's the established pathways to true magic, but the way that he thinks, the true empathy that he feels, and the kindness that he exhibits, it seems antithetical to this very way of life, which I kind of love. I mean, I don't know if it's a little cliche, because he's sort of like, I'm a nice protagonist. I don't know. I think this makes for a really interesting dynamic. A poison with no antidote. With his words, he was unwittingly bringing her weakness to light. My sister and I, we don't think of it in that way, though. To us, this was always the way it would turn out. Sojiro looked down and frowned in defeat. And that's sad too, he muttered. Very interesting. That was a very, very enlightening conversation. Very nice. All right, it's nighttime. Sojiro was feeling the distance between him and the girls. Oh, just when they had been getting close, he'd managed to convince them to stop fighting, go to the aquarium together. But they seem pretty united in how they feel about Toko. You understand? She's our enemy, let sleeping bears lie. You have nothing to do with us, so I doubt we need to worry about her going after you. No! Your sister kind of knows you, and she can tell that he's definitely going to be a weakness of yours, and that, you know, if he's her property, she's gonna want to break it. So, yeah. Placing trust in her enemy's sense of reason. Are you sure about that? I hope you're right. Really? So relax. She never paid any attention to things that were of no use to her anyway. Well, he might be of use to her in getting to you, so it's good enough for me. Speaking of things she has no use for, Toko took your teacup, the nice Sephro one. So she really was stealing it after all. Sojiro nodded sagely while Aoko fumed. She wondered where her serious manner and tone had gone. Sojiro's frustrating absent-mindedness had returned. It had to be my favorite teacup! Aoko's fist trembled violently, but as much as she wanted to, she knew better than to plant it into Sojiro's carefree face. Not that he was even capable, but even if Sojiro did try to stop Toko, it would have gone tragically for him. He always did have a habit of stealing my things, always wanting what others have. I guess old habits die hard. Isn't everybody like that as children? He wondered aloud curiously. Maybe. So many of my crayons and dolls she took as she pleased, and broke them too. Oh god. Well, that's a parallel to something we literally just saw in the last episode. Sojiro felt his heart jump into his mouth. The ominous foreshadowing was not lost on him. Why do you think that was? Because she made a hobby out of taking my property and smashing it to pieces, obviously. When she had her eye on something, I had to kiss it goodbye. Listening to Aoko, Sojiro recalled his conversation with Toko. He hoped he was imagining it, but he vaguely recalled her declaring Sojiro Shizuki as someone's property. That is troubling. Sojiro's face turned grim, not unlike a detective at the scene of a crime. A scene which left no traces of evidence or clues as to how the case could be solved. She was a terrible sister, the worst, unaware of Sojiro's turmoil. Sojiro watched as Aoko shrugged her shoulders before looking over to the drawing room clock. No matter how heavy the mood, time kept on ticking. Lonely days ahead, I guess, muttered the undeniable victim of today's injustices. Aoko looked ready to move on from the incident, adding, probably, but right now I'm just looking forward to tonight's dinner. Alice seemed to second that opinion with her silence. Comfortable and relaxed, neither of them seemed to have any intention of leaving the sofa to prepare food. Tonight was supposed to be his night off from work, at least until midnight. But Sojiro knew that until the clock struck midnight, he would be serving on hand and foot the two ladies of the house. For one, it would take at least another hour to prepare something to eat, and there was no way the exhausted Aoko and Alice would stand for that, so the only other option in the end was to have something delivered. Maybe I should have taken Toko up on her offer after all. Sojiro opened his wallet as he second-guesses the situation. His eye settled on the third and final 10,000 yen bill in his wallet. It stared back at him forlornly. Reluctant to leave its home, with a heavy heart, he bid it farewell. There's the chapter. There it is, chapter 9. Chapter 9, The Sister Returns, is the achievement that I just got for that. And now we have something much more profoundly troubling that kind of looks menacing. Howling. Those are definitely eyes. I have a feeling that things are about to take a turn, but I guess we will see, won't we? Chapter 10, Howling. This everyday tale started like any other. What have we got? Lay it on me, witch on the holy night. Show me something nice. Or are we moving into the second phase of our story? Another act, if you will. Because it kind of feels like it with the arrival of Toko Aozaki. The morning sun alerted Sojiro that a day of work lay ahead. Specifically, The gardens needed tending to, and an unkempt garden made for an unhappy Sojiro. Luckily, today was his day off from all of his part-time jobs. It was the perfect opportunity to get his hands dirty. Look at this. What is all this establishing stuff? There was one problem, however. The mansion's grounds were vast. Not only had the courtyard been left to run wild, but the area around the front door had been neglected too. To tend to these problems thoroughly, he would have to work on them week in, week out. Alright, first, let's level things out. In an ideal world, his task would only take a day, but for its enormity. For the moment, Sojiro decided to set foot into the mansion's wilderness and evict the weeds. Wasting none of the early light, he started tackling the ones around the mansion. By his estimation, he could clear the forecourt, courtyard, and backyard, then take a small rest. Look at this guy go, taking care of the grounds, taking care of Alice's beloved home. There he is, hey, hi! What's gotten into him? Beats me, I doubt he's out there for fun. Just before noon, Alice had come down, book in hand, to find Aoko sitting with a fashion magazine and elegantly sipping tea. Through the window, she could see the crouched figure of Sojiro shuffling by. He's been at it all morning, hunched over since I saw him first thing from my bedroom window. I told him to clean the incinerator too. Any objections? Not really, he always works so hard even in the cold. Alice quietly sat down. Her teacup had been placed on the table for her. She poured herself some tea and proceeded to open her book. We're back, I guess, into the set dressing. Yeah, set dressing part of the game. Evening roles decided, there was no need for idle chatter. Okay. A book on rune magecraft, occasionally tilting her head up as if to recall something. Are they... Oh, just while they're doing it, it's just sort of... In unison, they pressed their teacups to their lips and glanced outside. To the two girls, Sojiro appeared as if he were an animal in a zoo. Neither was interested in lending a hand, and despite his sluggish movement, he was making good progress. As Aoko's attention turned back to the sunroom, her eyes met Alice's. Alice returned her gaze to her book. No moments later, she raised her head again. Aww, I love her. She's so great. Oh my god, SIZUKI. Hey man, chill the hell out. Dude. Clearing her throat, she attempted to focus on reading. It was no surprise that Alice admired Sojiro's diligence. Not even 30 minutes had passed before he had cleared the courtyard of its unsightly weeds. Without stopping once, the mysterious gardener left the courtyard, puffing clouds of white breath. The area he left behind was spotless. Has he done this before? Alice muttered after scanning over his work. A stalwart Sojiro worked confidently and ceaselessly. She was impressed, like she was watching a scene from a great movie, but before long she grew irked. Why would he waste his energy like that, she thought. Alice looked at the clock. If he starts now, it'll be evening before he's done with the incinerator. Actually, he already took care of it. I watched him do it from upstairs. I didn't want him breaking it, so I gave him some pointers. You know, I yelled at him for so long from my window, my room almost froze over. It was safe to assume Aoko had come to the sunroom to escape her cold room. Between barking orders from a window and cleaning in the cold, it was clear who had the harder job. Anything to say? A lot, couldn't really hear him. Complaints fell on deaf ears. Nothing else to discuss. The ever so tense silence was broken by Sojiro entering the house after finishing his cleaning. He stared at the two of them, displeased. Warm enough in here, Aozaki? Warmer than outside unless you're walking the halls. What made you take care of the gardens, or decide to take care? Sojiro's subtle jibe had failed to find its target. He had no chance of winning, and so just hung his shoulders in defeat. So cold out today. Snow's probably going to fall tomorrow, so I thought I should tidy up while I could. I didn't think I'd have to work on the incinerator too. He sounded resentful, but his problem was not with the additional work. If anything, he was glad to do it. What he did not care for was how nobody had even bothered to lend a hand. So what? We all need to use it. Jesus Christ. Oh, and that brace for the beech tree out back is on its last legs. Okay, come to my room, throw in the incinerator. Oh, cruel but clever. What are you going to do while I'm doing all that? Maybe I'll play a little guitar. Oh, I'd love to hear you play guitar. Aoko thought hard about how to spend her afternoon, yet the thought of cleaning did not cross her mind, as had always been the case. No, it was not out of spite that she did not think to help clean. It was because the word cleaning was not in her vocabulary. Did you guys not come up with a rota? I thought there was a whiteboard exactly for this moment. Sojo knew exactly why the mansion was in the state it was in. Still, that did not change the fact that the corridor upstairs was very long and Aoko was not lying about how cold it was. Inside was not much different than outside. No intention of helping me. I mean, I do enjoy cleaning, but I don't know. Don't you even feel a little bit guilty using a roommate like this? Or do you just not feel guilt at all? As usual, he might have gone too far. His remarks had hit too close to home. Aoko closed her magazine and turned to face him. Infuriated, she glared, her sharp blue eyes piercing into him. Sojiro knew he had not said anything unjust, but he always backed down first. Let me explain it one more time. Okay, he replied automatically, straightening his back in response to Aoko's cold, calm tone. Don't be mistaken. We're not letting you stay here out of kindness. We're putting up with you because we have to. Aoko did not mince her words. Sojiro nodded in defeat. So I'm basically a pet. Exactly, and not a very... How dare you? That's the first time that somebody said something that genuinely irked me, irritated me. Aoko responded, already tired of the conversation. While Sojiro had little room to counter, he still tried. Last time I checked, most pets don't have to buy food or pay rent. Did you say something? Nothing, I'm just a dumb mud barking up the wrong tree. He raised his hand dismissively, knowing he could not win. To Aoko's ears, his attempt at self-deprecation sounded facetious. You do understand the position you're in. Yeah, one where I do all the work. Aoko grinned at her pet's obedience. Oh, this makes me sad. I don't like this relationship. I like their dynamic, but... Man, this sucks. Treat him like a person, damn it. You don't have a care in the world, do you? Oh! Wait, what? You don't have a care in the world, do you? Her playful smile darkened, as did Sojiro's expression.
Aozaki,
I can't breathe. If I keep this up, you'll never be able to complain again. Shall we give it a... This is cruel! He shook his head, his expression growing more and more grim. I don't want to see you suffocate if I can help it. What the hell? Come on, you guys... He's still a human being. You guys were starting to grow to appreciate him. And he's just so nice. He's just... you could have... Oh, God. This is pissing me off. Because I get, you know, oh, he's a liability. We gotta erase his memory. Shut the hell up. Whatever. Mage crap. Blah, 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 blah. You could still treat him like a person. Though I guess Togo did say that Aoko made him her property. I told you that's what your collar was for. You're always so naive, so I took the opportunity to give it a test run. Now you know your place. Chores, you're wasting daylight. God. Aoko watched him leave before turning to her magazine as if nothing had happened. That's cruel. Alice paid no attention. None of that had anything to do with her. With Sojiro gone, the room once again fell silent. Any reason why you push him so hard? She asked as though talking to herself. Aoko replied without so much as looking up. No. We're just going to erase his memories in the end anyway. Why get his hopes up? Obscure as ever, but sincere in her own way. When you put it like that, I suppose you are right. Alice could not believe she had forgotten about the situation. Silently, she looked up from her book and gazed outside once again. The courtyard through the window reminded her of where she lived a decade ago. Nothing could compare to the beauty of those gardens, but if that was the case, why did the scenery make her feel nostalgic? All Sojiro had done was take care of the gardens with the goodness of his own heart. In only half a day, he had achieved so much. All right, fellas. Merry Christmas, everyone. Christmas Eve. I'm feeling bad, but we're here. Snow is falling on Christmas Eve. These are beautiful lights. I love it. Look at that. And we have a variant of the main theme, I believe. Yes, if it... Wait, hold on. Yes, it is a variant of the main theme. Its timing was too good. The cold, bustling main street seemed bright and vibrant under the layer of frosty white. Reindeer statues, children danced merrily to jingle bells. People walked along the brick road smiling broadly. Oh, it's nice to be in the holiday spirit, though we haven't even had Thanksgiving yet. Very nice. These festivities, however, had not reached the mansion on the hill. Silence enveloped the isolated building. The shadow of the snow-covered woodland grew longer, beckoning in the darkness. People returned to the warmth of their homes, knowing a bitter night lay ahead. Something had been amiss in the mansion all day. Perhaps it was the calm before the storm. 2 days had passed since Tokozaki had revealed herself. Ako and Alice spent more and more time locked in their rooms. Mealtimes had grown noticeably quieter. With the roles decided, they were too busy with their own jobs to worry about each other. They have to figure out how to deal with this prodigy of a woman, supposedly. Too relaxing, mood calm. Sojiro was fretting that tonight would be the same. Snow just couldn't wait till tomorrow. He aimed his words towards the girls on the sofa despite knowing they would be ignored. Whether the snow fell today, tomorrow, or not at all did not affect them. The snow just meant a white Christmas. She wasn't ignoring him per se, she just had other things on her mind. Sojiro knew this, but still cast a lonely glance around the sunroom. Oh, poor guy. The courtyard he had cleaned only a few days ago was hidden by a layer of white. Falling snow would stop every so often, but then resume again as if teasing Sojiro. And by the next morning, the courtyard would be a winter wonderland. That was all they were doing, fighting the cold. You know, Toko's hair was darker than yours, Ozaki. I've never seen such a beautiful red hair. Shame it was so short. Nah, he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. However, her hair was cut short. Ako's expression went from nonchalant to its usual sharpness. You are talking about her hair, right? Yeah, even shorter than Alice's. Is that a big deal? She used to have longer hair than mine, I see. So she really cut it all off. Ako spoke in a grave tone. Showing slight interest, Alice turned to Sojiro. What's so bad about her getting a haircut? Does it affect you in any way, Ozaki? Well, yeah, it does. As we have nothing to do until nightfall, I suppose I'll explain. You're lucky. If you hadn't said anything, we'd have been oblivious when fighting her. Aoko knowingly glanced at Alice, her expression suggesting she was treating her. She was also likely seeking approval. Alice remained stoic as ever, her expression showing neither approval nor disapproval. Is this Bayonetta? Sorry. Mages can use their hair as a weapon. Alright, whatever. Yeah, no, that's not out of the scope. I just thought it said mages do use their hair as a weapon. So I was like, oh. That's just how it works? Hair and eyes have been vital to magecraft, especially in my sister's case. The more colorful the eyes, the better. The longer the hair, the higher the quality. Hair has the same qualities as the body, and when grown over many years, it becomes a strong base component. That's why I'm growing mine out. Looking after it is a pain sometimes, but I like styling it. Sojiro glanced furtively at Alice, wondering if the same held true for her. Maybe Alice had cut it because it was a hassle to maintain. It sounded stupid, but then again, this was Alice. Sojiro nodded to himself. That's good for you then, right, Ozaki? I mean, that Toko's got short hair. If she's used all her hair before coming here, then yes, long hair can be used in tons of ways. I can only use it to temporarily reinforce magecraft, but my sister can use it to complement longer-lasting spells. With all those thoughts and memories in that hair, it's like having a mage claw. You can even use it on a dead dog or cat, reviving them and making them the mage's familiar. Familiars with no previous magical energy, like said dog or cat, can acquire magic circuits, all thanks to the hair. The reanimated creature becomes something entirely different. They can even speak and take human form. Their behavior changes too to something resembling a regular mage, right, Alice? Her last words came with a mocking smile. What, Robin? We're talking about Robin? Toka has familiars. She's been growing her hair for over 20 years. She could have an army of powerful familiars. Fight at the amusement park. Just the thought of Alice Koenji releasing flat snark sent a shiver down Sojiro's spine. The oil of the moon had been a unique familiar out of this world. She couldn't create a familiar that could destroy Misaki or anything. Incredibly powerful. They need to reset one of the 3 pillars from the beginning. They have to grow their hair again. Making familiars is easy, but not leading them. As Ako spoke, her mood visibly improved, as though she had made a breakthrough. Dogs and cats. Dogs and cats were so powerful. So she's a puppet master. I wonder why she would lower herself to make familiars. Nobody to help her, and she wouldn't ask for assistance with a personal matter concerning the family. The puppet wasn't made from her hair. Oh, was her hair color? It seemed highly customized. Its curse-based perpetual motion, coiled arms, fin shot, the depths of its obsession. It's likely she created it from scratch. Toko's not the type to put herself into her creations. She might consider doing it for a perfect replica, but the ones we destroyed weren't even faint copies of her. Aoko, did that puppet have the same power as Toko? Not even close. Then it would not have been made using her hair. Meaning we have to keep our eyes open for a familiar fused with her magical energy. So in your opinion, you think that her familiar could be stronger than my sister herself? If it's not, then what's the point of creating one? They did mention that familiars are, by and large, more powerful than their creators. She needs help. It's two of us versus one of her. He's gonna attack with them at the same time. It would at least be a fair fight. Well, fairer. When it comes to familiars, I think you have the upper hand. Alice had never been defeated by a familiar. She cited Aoko's overconfidence. Aoko, even if she utilizes her 20-year stockpile, she can only use small animals as vessels. If Toko was to prepare a familiar as her trump card... Don't you say it. No sister of mine would stoop that low. Oh! Oh! Is she saying she would have killed a person and used a real-life person? Oh? Still, nothing hunts down a human better than a human. Toko may not have raised the dead. Okay, that's what they're talking about. But she probably has something just as powerful up her sleeve. I admit geniuses can get stuck in their own world sometimes. Whatever corpse she throws at me, I'll be ready. Sojiro was completely lost. Oh, it seems pretty bad. Living partners aren't familiars, they're co-conspirators. Familiars can't live with a mage to sustain them. Still, they're the perfect foil, strong-willed and smart enough to compensate for their mage's shortcomings. Everything you'd want from a great familiar. Let's be real, who wouldn't want to bring that kind of partner back to life? Completely obedient and capable of compensating for their mage's weaknesses, Sojiro felt that a familiar was little different than himself. True. Now that my sister's always been a rune user, so we can somewhat predict her tactics. Her trump card, which we need to be worried about, is probably a familiar. And it's likely she used up all of her automata already. Okay. Stick to the plan, call it a night, make her pay for all the crap she's put us through for the last month. Nothing more than a sibling rivalry. But with what happened with Toko and how they reacted to her visit, the atmosphere had been deathly tense. For now, though, Aoko seemed much calmer. He took comfort in the thought that perhaps the sisters would just bury the hatchet. Even if Aoko and Toko were not sisters, he would not want to see what would happen if they fought. The hands of the clock turned gently, approaching Judgment Night. A merciless silence would soon come to mock Sojiro's complacency. Okay. All right. That's all the time that we have for today. Fellas, I'm tense. I'm not so happy anymore. Not that I'm disliking the story, it's just, this is concerning. So many things about this are concerning. I'm worried about what's going to happen to our characters. And the dynamic has shifted so drastically. I was having a good time, and now things kind of suck from an emotional standpoint. But I'm excited to see how this unfolds. I want to see what kind of fighting we're going to get up to, because it's been a while. Last time was the well, okay, technically not. Last time was all the puppets that Toko sent after Alice and Aoko, but that doesn't really count. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I definitely did, and I will see you guys in the next video. So for now, have a good rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Bye!